I'm back. It kicked me off again. I'm sorry. If you're watching the first video, here's where we ended. So I was asking, why are those two constants different? Well, they're not really different. Okay, this c could be any number at all. So whether it's c or 3c or negative c or 10c, it doesn't really matter. It's just c. Okay, so you're going to see later on, we're going to be adding c's together and it doesn't matter. This is the same as this. So you can write this just as 3/2 x squared plus c, because that's just representing a number. So you can always have another number in front of it. It's not going to matter. It's just a basic number. It's arbitrary. Okay, just so that you know it is a number. Okay. So now here's some more problems where we're using our power rule. So for this first one, just always remember we're doing this backwards. So I'm going to add 1 to my exponent. That gives me -4. And then I'm going to divide by -4. So this is going to equal 2 over -4 x to the -4th, and then always plus c. So I'm going to reduce this. That'll be -1/2. And also, we know that since it's a -4, that's going to move it to my denominator. And then it'll be plus c. So that is going to be my antiderivative. Now for the next one, I'm going to rewrite this first. I'm going to write this as x to the 1/2, because again, it's easier to use the power rule that way. So now I add 1, which gives me 3/2. And now I'm going to divide by 3/2. So I'm going to have 1 over 3/2. This is going to be x to the 3/2 plus c. Now I certainly don't want to have that as my coefficient, that right there. I don't want to have 1 over 3/2. So instead of dividing by 3/2, remember we can multiply by the reciprocal. So this is really going to end up being 2/3 x to the 3/2 plus c. And finally, for our last one here with the trig, okay, so the antiderivative of sine is negative cosine. So this is just going to become -4 cosine of x plus c. And the 4 stays out front just like it did with sine and cosine when we took the derivative, so that's not going to change. Then you just plug in negative cosine basically and add c. So our next ones here deal with polynomials. Okay, now remember our rules. You can split these up if you want and take the derivative separately. So what I could do is I could say, okay, I'm going to take the integral of 2x dx plus the integral of 3 dx. And I could find them each separately. So I'm going to add 1 to my exponent here. So it's going to become 2, and then I'm going to divide by 2. So that gives me 2 over 2 x squared plus c. And now if I ever have a coefficient, that just becomes 3x plus c. And so 2 over 2 is 1, so that's just going to become x squared plus 3x. And my 2 c's, again, it just becomes 1c. I don't need to have 2c because it's the same. It's just a constant. It doesn't really matter what the constant is. We just know it's a number. So I can just kind of combine those c's together to be 1. Now, you don't have to split it up like that. I split it up into 2 different integrals, 1 and then 2, but I can do it all together when it's a polynomial. So I'll do this one together. We're just going to add 1 to all the exponents. So this first one gives me a 4, and then I'll divide by that. So I get 5/4 x to the 4th plus this next one will be 3 over 3, which is just 1. So it'll be x cubed. And then minus 1 plus 1 is 2, and 10 divided by 2 is 5x squared. And then never forget your plus c. Now don't forget, you can check all of these by taking the derivative. If I took the derivative of this right here, what you're used to, 4 times this would give me 5x cubed, which is what I have. The derivative of this would be 3x squared, again, what I have. And the derivative of this would be negative 10x, which again is what I have. So you can always check by taking the derivative. Now our last page here, so we have to rewrite these first, okay? You can't do the product rule backwards or the quotient rule backwards or anything like that, okay? So instead, I'm going to rewrite this. So I'm going to take x squared over x squared plus 3 over x squared. So now this will become 1 plus 3x to the negative second. And now I can use my rule. So this will just become x. This I'll add 1, which will give me negative 1, and then divide by that. So 3 divided by negative 1 is negative 3. X to the negative first, and then plus c. You can leave it like that if you want, or I know some of you like to rewrite so you don't have negative exponents. Either of those answers would be good. And now for the next one, I'm sure you can guess what we have to do first. I have to do good old FOIL. So when I FOIL this, I'm going to get x squared plus 5x plus 4 dx. And again, I'll add 1 to my exponents and then divide by that. So this will become 1/3 x cubed plus 5/2 x squared plus 4x plus c. And that's it. Okay, so really this first assignment here, down here, this is just all taking the antiderivative. So it's all just taking integrals. It's they tell you in the book to check your work by taking the derivative. You don't have to do that step. You can just do that in your head if you want, or you don't have to do it. You can just check my homework and make sure that you're doing it right. But basically, it's just doing the power rule backwards. Okay? If you have any questions on this, please feel free to email me. Again, with this, the set of notes and this homework assignment, you don't have to turn anything into me for this, but please be following along, at least watching the videos like we do in class. If you have any questions, I'm still on my office hours every day from 10 to 11 and from 2 to 3. If you just want to check in and say hi, I haven't talked to too many of you, but I am here if you need me. I'll talk to you soon.